What is up, Facebook land? Welcome to this very surprise episode of the Two Dates and a Dash podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cubbler. Before I introduce Aaron Scotti, who is the producer of the soon-to-be summer feel-good movie of the year, the Peanut Butter Falcon, I want to first dedicate the show. If anybody has seen the trailer, which is literally, I cried in the first 30 seconds of that trailer, for the Peanut Butter Falcon. If anybody knows me, they know my connection with people with disabilities, especially learning disabilities, autism, Downs. This movie it spoke to me. And I didn't present that to anybody. I didn't tell anybody, but we have a mutual friend who's does publicity work for me, and then also for Aaron. Apparently, she texted me this morning and said, "Hey, would you like to have Aaron on the show?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be awesome." And here we are, 4 hours later. So I dedicate a show every show, and it's only fitting that we dedicate this show to people with Down syndrome and those that have someone in their life who has Down syndrome. I have a lot of friends who have kids with Downs, and they are the most amazingly honest, emotionally driven kids. Those kids they want you to see their heart. That's how they lead, is with their heart. And for me, I constantly post videos and Downs kids on video, just great feel good videos on my page, and I just have a soft spot for kids with Downs. So the fact that there is a movie now coming out where the lead actor has Downs is just an amazing accomplishment for that situation, and for movies in general, for them to take a risk, and especially somebody like you to take a risk where that's not normally how it works. But I think it's going to be a grand slam. So my dedication is to people who are living with Downs or have somebody with Downs in their family that they love. The podcast, where can you hear it? Anywhere, pretty much. It's on like 13 different platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Anchor, you name it, it's there. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my man, Aaron Scotti. We have never met. This is the first. We literally got on about 4 minutes ago. Got a quick hello, and we're hitting the show. There's not a lot of planning that I normally do anyway, so this fits.
Yeah, I mean, let's wing it, man. It's funny, but now I feel like I have you took all the words out of my mouth. It's I have nothing to teach or share about Down syndrome now, because you said it, man. It's meeting Zack, he just leads with his heart, and you have no choice but to open yours, because he pulls the love out of you, and it's such a profoundly special time when you're hanging out with him. You know what I mean?
It's just pure.
Yeah, it really is. And the thing about truth, like he just can't lie. He doesn't lie, which is also why he's so captivating on screen, because actors, the best actors are living truth. They're curious, they're listening, and they're living their truth.
I think so. I'm a cop in Collegeville, for everybody that doesn't know that. And there's a barbershop in Collegeville called Stagliano's Barbershop. And I hang out there a lot, even though I'm bald. I always say the barbershop is where everything happens.
So you said it.
So there's a kid that comes in to get his haircut, and he has Downs, and he loves me. And they text me whenever he's in. I stop in, and he's so curious about everything on my uniform, and the gun and the radio and the handcuffs, and I let him hold everything but the gun. And we have a good time. And it's just that pure, inquisitive, I want to know what's happening in their mind, like what's happening with all this, and it just, you can't help but appreciate the honesty that they have.
Well, it's almost like their mind didn't get muddied up the way ours did. It's still pure. I mean, we're born like that, with this purity and this thirst for life and curiosity and happiness. And I think society just kind of quickly beats it out of you in ways, and it hits you in the heart, and you start to go, oh wow, let me build this wall, let me protect this, let me build the wall here, and then we kind of grow up thinking that we're protecting ourselves from being hurt, or but we're really just kind of missing out on love, and it's important, because I think the heart was made to be broken. Whether we like to hear that or not, that's how you grow and build character. And we're afraid to love because we don't want to lose someone, or we don't want to be hurt in that moment. But wow, what a life that we're missing by not loving like that, you know. And Zack is the definition of unconditional love. You'll hear me say that again and again. He taught me that and changed my life, changed my wife's life because it changed my life. Our relationship is so different, more engaged and more like I slowed down a little bit to just live in the moment and appreciate the moments, you know.
Well, I can't wait to do a deep dive into all this and just learning about you and how you got involved with the project. But no one gets out of this question. Everybody gets the same question. Just to give you a little backstory on why I only ask one question. As a cop, when we're investigating a crime, we don't know the answer.
Right.
It always starts with one question. And for me, the greatest question I can ask somebody is who they think they are, because I may have an opinion of who you are based on what I've read or seen on social media or whatever, but who you think you are is literally the reason why I do this show. Is I want to hear who you are. So the question I'm going to ask you is, who is Aaron Scotti?
Wow.
Not too deep, right?
Maybe we pause this and I'll do some homework. We can pick it up tomorrow. That's the age-old question, right? That's what we're all trying to figure out. Wow. All right, straight to it. You know, I've never really figured out how to answer that question. Maybe I'm getting closer as start to tear away the walls, but you know, I don't want to say, oh, I'm an executive producer on this movie, or I was an actor, or I think I am you under different circumstances. I'm everyone, and I just think we're all human beings here to experience this life in whatever way we're meant to. And I think who I'm becoming is someone who is in search of my purpose here. You know, I don't want to say I'm like looking for the purpose, but because it lives in all of us, right? But I want to stop running on a hamster wheel and trying to force something. Like, you know, I moved out of Conshohocken in 2006 to become an actor because I thought that's what I wanted to do. But what I really wanted deep down was to entertain, inspire, heal the world. I was a big fan of Friends, and I remember when the finale was on and they kind of pulled back and you see the lights above and you see them standing on a stage, and that was the first time I understood what it meant when they say Friends is taped in front of a live studio audience, or Cheers is taped in front of a live. I was like, oh, they go and do this in front of people every day. And I feel like that show did a lot for me. You know, I'm my mother's son. You know, I think if I'm a good person, it's because of her. And I think that show helped me a lot too. And I laughed with them and I cried with them, and I kind of learned about becoming an adult maybe through that show, and in a way, you know. And I just said, I want to do for the world what they did for me. So I went off to New York to study acting. I moved to LA to try to pursue this career. And I started to really find out a little more who Aaron Scotti was. You know, I feel like I lost him as, you know, the 4-year-old who just loved to dance and have fun, and you start to build up these walls. I remember getting kicked off a dance floor at like a 4th grade dance, saying, you know, get off the dance floor, white boy. And I don't think I danced again for 10 plus years because it scarred me, you know. And that's just an example of these walls we build around who we are. And now, you know, Get Me at a Wedding, me and my wife are the first ones on the dance floor acting a fool, you know. So I'm kind of rediscovering that. And this movie was a really, really huge part in tearing down the last bits of that massive wall. And Zack, like I said, man, that love is strong. And that pulled right through that wall. And I really started to feel like myself deep down, you know? And so, yeah, like I realized that was in the 90s, they did that for me, but I could still do those things. I could still entertain, inspire, and heal the world in a different way. So trying to figure that out, and I'm getting closer without forcing it to be, I have to study and I have to get my own TV show. And that was their thing. And then I have to find my thing, which this is one for sure. I mean, thanks to Armory Films for giving me a shot. Tim Zajaros and Christopher Lemole, who's actually a Philly native. I didn't know him here, but we bonded out there over Eagles games and Sixers games. And whenever the Rams are in town, we go beat up on them. Feels like a home game, you know? So, you know, and I've been friends with Chris and Tim for like 10 years, and they started this production company 5 years ago when I was still grinding away as an actor. They gave me a shot about 3 years ago. I teamed up with them, and I really liked the kind of films that they picked, the stories that matter, and, you know, just different. You know, they take risks, and I love that. And especially with this is probably the biggest risk that we've ever taken, and I think it's going to have the biggest payoff. Now, it's easier for me to say because I didn't finance the movie. I just got to be a part of it and help put it together, help make the movie, and help, you know, be on set every day and watch this magic. You know, and so it's easy for me. I just believe in this wholeheartely, and I think it's going to do fantastically. I think it should. I think everybody should see this. I also started to get involved in the CBD, hemp CBD movement. I teamed up with Tracy Ryan out there. She started Canna Kids, and all these things are starting to come together. Like, that's part of my healing journey. So I had to heal myself, and I'm starting to find things that I believe in that I want to come back and share with my hometown and my community. So soon you'll start to see our CK Soul products on the shelf. So I'm kind of getting away from, oh, I want to go be on TV because it's cool and neat and you get to do this and that, to, wow, maybe I'm on this path to have a platform to open people's minds and hearts the way it was for me, because I feel like I'm living a different life now in such a good way. And I feel like I'm not special. I'm no different. I think that we all have something in us that's locked up, that if we want to, we can unleash it and live a really pure, happy life, you know?
I think it's, you know, I'm listening to every word you're saying, and I'm obviously trying to formulate
a lot of words.
But no, I
but
resonate with everything you said, because we don't know each other. We literally had 3 texts and a 3-minute conversation before we went live. So I lost my brother, who was special needs, who was autistic and severely stuttered in 1989 in a car accident. And I resonate with your challenges of figuring out your purpose and breaking down those walls and figuring out where your life is, the journey has taken you, and following that path to where you are now. And for me, I went through the same thing after my brother died. My purpose was to protect my brother when he was alive, and then when he died, I had nothing.
Oh man.
And that killed me, and it put me in a deep depression for 13 years. And luckily I came out of it, and I ended up writing a book about my brother, which then opened this new journey, which is to share my brother's story with people, and to share how he impacted my life and the lives of others. And it's a really inspirational, uplifting story. And for me, that process of breaking down the walls of the depression and the anger and all that stuff that I had during that time, writing this book that was a healing process, and then sharing it it's all discovery phase, right? This is, I'm just figuring it all out. And if you're smart enough and wise enough, and you open your heart enough, and you see the highlighted areas that you're supposed to follow, because it's what happens, then all of a sudden your purpose becomes meaningful and it has value, and you have this feeling of sense of accomplishment. And I think what I was hearing, and I might be completely off base, but you went thinking one thing, right? You tried to push that rock up the hill, and trust me, I've pushed many rocks up hills and had them come back on me on the acting side. And then all of a sudden, this opportunity for you to actually share, because in a producer role, you have a whole lot more oversight over the entire project, rather than an actor. You get lines and a direction that they want you to get.
Everybody always asks me, and you hit it perfectly. Like, an actor, there's a lot to do as an actor for yourself and to get that character out onto the screen, you know. But in the room, you hit your mark, you do your job, you go to your trailer. You can't help the boom operator. You stay in your lane. Now the producer, that's a completely different muscle. That's a different skill set. That's problem solving, and you never know. You've got to be on your toes. Like, I can't even tell you what a producer does or doesn't do. It's everything and nothing, everything in between, and it's always last minute. For me, it's always last minute. It's like, oh, we need this tomorrow. All right, we're gonna scramble because that's impossible. But somehow you just figure it out, and it's exhilarating in a way, But it's two completely different skill sets or challenges,
Totally. And I think, for me, when I saw this trailer and I just saw what the potential and the possibilities for what this movie could be, not just in my life, but globally, how the awareness level for Down syndrome, the appreciation for that connectivity between Shia and him, that just Zack and Shia, and even what's Dakota? Is that her first name?
Dakota Johnson, yeah.
Dakota, that connectivity where it didn't look like anyone was acting.
They weren't.
And that's the coolest part about anything. And I had a call today with a guy that was a guest on my show, and he wants to become a speaker and author, and we're talking, and he asked me about becoming a speaker and what is my process. And I said, I don't have a process. I wing everything I do. But all I know is that if I lead with my heart and I take somebody to a point in time when I felt that moment, and I can let them feel it as it's happening, as if it's happening again right in front of us, that's what a great speaker can do. And that's all I ever try to do. And I think with this movie, that's what this movie does.
Yeah, just bring them along on the journey with you so they have that visceral experience, and there's just nothing like it. But a couple things. One thing that I heard that I want to address, I know what you said that you went through, you can't put words to it. So I would say, oh, it's tough, but it's beyond that. So, but it sounds like you continued your purpose with the book. So if it was to protect him, you're still doing that.
Yep.
And you're honoring his legacy. And that's a beautiful thing. You're keeping him alive through storytelling. And he is able to continue his purpose through you because you're spreading it and changing the world one person at a time, one story at a time. So you're still living that purpose. You know what I mean? And it's just like you said, I went to do one thing, and what do they say? God, we plan and God laughs. I planned on having my own TV show, and I was going to make a ton of money, and told my mom, I'll come back to visit once a month, Well, God laughed at that plan. And I fought through so much mud to get to this point, and not that I'm done by any means, but I can't even imagine. Thank God it didn't work out the way that I wanted it to, because I never would have been able to be a part of this film. And it's not just a movie now. I mean, we had that event last night at the Gypsy in Conshohocken, and there's a bunch of people there that I didn't know, and there was a table with 4 women, 5, the 4 women get together maybe once a year or something. All their children have Down syndrome, and they just randomly picked the Gypsy. And I was like, I don't believe in coincidences. This is not random. You're exactly where you're meant to be. And I spent a lot of my time with them, and like, they were like, Channel 6 is here. They want to do the story. I'm like, well, they can come over to this table and talk to me here, because this is what matters, and they were so sweet, and they were really happy to be there and to find out about this movie and to be able to go and see this. And like, if it makes the slightest difference, it's a huge step in the right direction. Right. And I was like, please stay in touch. Just because the movie is going to be out next week, please call me next year. Call me. They said something about coming in the fall and speaking at their school. I don't know what I'll say, but if it'll help, I'll do anything. I mean, this is bigger than just a film. And the other thing I wanted to say was, when you're watching it, you don't feel like anybody's acting. And we say that this is the best acting, is when you don't see the acting. That little family of 3 that you see on that raft was built off screen. We started pre-production about a month early, and we were all in Georgia hanging out, and really just got to know each other. it all revolves around Zack. Obviously, we all softened very quickly. You know, me and Chris are both Philly guys, rah, 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 Eagles, you know, and man, just ripped that right out, like heart everywhere, you know. But watching Shia and Zack bond was one of the most special things I've ever seen, you know. And then Dakota as well, when she got there, you know, just Shia and Zack had a month before we started. And then Dakota got there, and she was the perfect balance to their relationship. Because Shia love, his heart open as well, but he was also tough love. You know what I mean? He wasn't going to baby Zack at all. And that was really cool, you know? And then Dakota comes in, and she's got this nurturing, motherly side, which, you know, just getting in, that's what her character is. But it just built this like natural little family. And that's what you see on screen.
I just think, and I know jack shit about movies, and I've never been on a movie set. I've been on commercials and when I was doing bodyguarding for Tebow and stuff like that, but I don't know anything about it.
That's why you got the jersey. I was like, why are the jerseys? You never told me why.
Yeah, I do. I kind of crunched on time, but yeah. So it's one of those things where I don't get to go to a lot of movies, but I love to watch a good movie. And there's movies that I will watch over and over again just because it's such a good movie. Yeah. And, you know, before we went on, I was watching Forrest Gump again and that's probably the 3,000th time.
They shot that in Savannah, Georgia. It's funny.
But it's one of those movies that it's not just because of what it was about and who Forrest's character was. It was literally the most honest movie.
Yeah.
And like you just felt like there's nothing about this that I feel is contrived or made up,
right,
or fictitious or from some other. There's no way that could happen.
Yeah. The naivety was beautiful. Like you said, charming, you know?
You know, in the beginning when he gets on the bus and nobody would let him sit. And she's standing, she goes, well, you can sit here. And he's just staring at her and he's talking in the narration part, the most beautiful eyes you'd ever seen and all this stuff. And she's like, well, are you going to sit or what? Like it's this whole thing in their little kiss, and I just love that movie, and I just see a lot of the similar qualities from Forrest Gump and the natural pairings that were made in that movie, and how I see the same thing in this movie with the actors involved in that connectivity. And if the gift of connecting, and you talked about in the beginning, is the key to everything. If you can connect with another person on a deep level that isn't jaded by you want something after the end of this, or there's some ulterior motive. If it's just two dudes connecting or sitting, that's why I love my show, because I want it to be like two guys in a bar just having a conversation, and everyone else just gets to hear it.
Like you said, we met 3 minutes ago, and I don't know you. I don't know what you're going to ask, but I used to be nervous about stuff like that. What am I going to say? Just go in with the truth, man. If you ask you a question, be honest. You can't go wrong there, right? It's fun. It's fun meeting new people. And I just heard your story, which I never heard before. And again, it's just a ripple effect of you saw a trailer and now you want to talk to me about this, and it actually hits home with you. That's cool, man. That's the best part of all this. And
I'm excited for the possibilities. And I love seeing good things happen to good people. I love seeing movies that have a purpose outside of just how many millions of dollars it can make in a box office.
Right.
I love seeing, not for nothing, Shia's kind of had a rough go as an actor, and to see him have a rebound movie where it's not a big blockbuster film with rockets and robots, and that it's just the essence of who he is.
Yeah, because he doesn't care. He's not going to give in. And like the only reason it was, as you say, a rough go at it is because he's just not good. He's unapologetically Shia. And I respect the hell out of that, man. He has a strong point of view. He doesn't have a filter. And the people that give him a hard time are the ones that are behaving according to society standards. And it's just their ego that wants to kick and scream and behave like Shia and speak their own truth. But you can. You just can't worry about what other people think. And we're all going through pain. That's how we grow. Mm-hmm. And that's how you build character. Shia is just living his pain in the public eye, and that can't be easy. As you said you went through a long depression, and I know what that's like. And I forced myself to go through this process and it was really, really challenging. Spent 3 months, there's a whole story about my injury and what happened to me and stuff like that. It's a story for another day. But part of it was I had to do some emotional healing, which I didn't realize because they wanted to do surgery, epidurals on my spine, all this kind of stuff. And I said, no, I'm going to do this naturally because I wasn't hit by a car. Or I'd broken bones. And it was one of those things where I must have been holding on to stuff from childhood, repressed, whatever traumas that, I was dealing with. And I forced myself, I cried for like 3 months straight every day. And it was not fun. It was really, really painful to dig up that old stuff. And all of a sudden, my spine is totally healed. And I lost the 40 pounds that I gained. I'm back at the gym. I can move around totally fine. Whereas I was a vegetable 6 months ago living on the floor on an ice pack, and you couldn't even believe that I'm standing here right now. It's crazy. But we have to go through this pain one way or another. You're going to be forced to, right? And this time I went through with gratitude. I don't know why this is happening, but thank you. Thank you for these lessons and thank you for this growth. And it really helped, So some people are living through that pain in public, and that can't be easy. No. And Shia doesn't need to do the big guns and rockets and fireworks, and he's all about the story. And that's what he wants to do, and that's what he's doing. And he saw a story that he loved, and he met Zack. Once he met Zack, he's like, I'm all in. And he will do anything for Zack. They've become brothers very quickly. And he's going above and beyond even for this movie. If Zack goes to like the Galapagos Islands to do a podcast for 6 listeners, Shia is going to want to go with him.
Right. Because
that's who he is. But people, that doesn't sell magazines. It's if he gets in trouble, they want to talk about that because that's the society we live in. It's like all fear tactics and, whatever's going on. But he doesn't care.
You said something earlier that I truly believe is true, that in order to appreciate love, you have to go through loss.
Yeah. And
obviously having lost my brother when I was 18 years old, and I didn't appreciate that. And I had lost two of my grandparents when I was 10. Like I went through loss, but I never realized what true loss felt like until I went through it. And I gave a talk for some kids that they do like a PA Free Enterprise Week, it's called. Mm-hmm. And a bunch of kids that are juniors and seniors going to learn about business and starting their own company. And anyways, they bring in keynote speakers. I was one of them. And I gave this speech. And at the end, I said, I wouldn't be on the stage today. There would be no me here today. Right. If I hadn't lost my brother, if I hadn't been depressed for 13 years, if I hadn't, none of these things were individually moments. They're all connected.
Right.
And it's that value of understanding the journey. When you write a book about your life story and you go back and relive all the shit that sucked and you go through it again, that's when you realize what life is. That's when you realize what the connectivity of each moment and how you got to where you got to.
Right.
And I tell my kids all the time, and, unfortunately, my wife lost her sister 4 years ago to cancer, and my kids were, I have a 21-year-old and a 16-year-old, and they were very close. And that trauma, that pain hurt them, and it hurt me to watch.
Yeah.
And I said, you will never have a better appreciation for love than you do today.
Right.
Because you lost somebody you loved.
Yeah. And you can't be afraid to love again.
Right.
That's the trick, because a lot of people get scarred and then they run from love and they close their heart because it hurt too much. But the trick is not to do that and to love again. The heart will mend.
And I think when you believe in, when it's not, everything gets so insulated and we're in these blinder mode of our life where we just stay in a moment and we never get out of that moment. It's like you can't see the forest through the trees. And I try very hard to keep my kids always looking out and up.
Yeah.
No matter where you are today, there's an out and up somewhere.
Yep.
And you got to focus on that. And you go through what you're going through today so that you become a better person when you reach those next levels of your life.
Right.
And I think what you said was just so poignant. I just want to make sure we touched on that because it just ties into this movie, that feeling of you want to give your heart again. Right.
Yeah. And something you said too, which is interesting because, they always say it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And the journey is the most important part, because that is your life. That's your life. This end goal that you think you're going to achieve, it's not all that it's cracked up to be, I promise you. Your life is that journey. But what you said, this is the important part, is understanding the value of the journey. So paying attention throughout, that is how you grow, you know? And that's, I think, why we're here.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, and I tell the story, and I people probably watch this podcast all the time are probably like, here's this story again. But when my brother died, he didn't have friends that I knew of. Like he went away in the summers to go work at this camp out in Chester County and cut grass and did stuff like that. But I never went. And he did that for 4 summers. And the brother I knew needed me and only had me. And we had some family friends and stuff like that. But like real friends, like people calling you to come out to play or invite you to a birthday party or a sleepover, that never happened. But when he died, there were 1,000 people at his funeral.
Oh my goodness.
And I remember I was so dumbfounded by who the hell are all these people and why are they at my brother's funeral? Because I don't know any of them. And then I wrote the book, and over time I found out who these people were. And these were all the people that my brother touched the lives of at this camp.
Wow.
The campers, the families of the campers, the staff, they built a gymnasium in my brother's name. And I learned, first of all, very sad in the beginning to find out that I didn't know that person.
Yeah.
But then when I realized that this wasn't about me.
Right.
I was so angry my brother died that he didn't live in my mind. He didn't have a life. He didn't experience what life was meant to give him. It was cut too short. But then I realized my brother lived the shit out of it.
Did you know? Yeah.
And so I stopped being angry then. I'm like, I was upset for 13 years and depressed and all that because I thought my brother why him and not me?
Right.
But I realized my brother lived his life. The life he was meant to live here on earth was complete because of all these lives he touched. So all I care about in this entire life of mine is not how many dollars I make. It's how many lives do I impact, and will there be 1,000 people at my funeral? Yeah. And I don't want anyone to ever sit in the pew and go, who the hell are all these people and why are they here?
Right.
I want everyone to know.
Right. Yeah.
Collectively, we're all looking at each other at my funeral going, I know why you're here.
Right.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And it's funny, as you say, not funny, haha, but you're sitting here not living your life because you're worried about him. And the whole time he did live a full life.
Yep.
You know? And you were just creating a story in your head. And that's what we do, right? That reminds me of one of my favorite stories about Zack. So Mike Schwartz and Tyler Nilsson met Zack at a camp for people with and without disabilities. It was like a performing arts camp, I believe. And they met Zack, and he was like part of their short film. And they just thought he was really good, and they became friends. Well, I might as well tell this story too, because this is how the movie came to be, but there's another story that you reminded me of. So I'll get to that too real quick. So Zack said, eventually, they're friends, and Zack said, I want to be a movie star. I mean, he's been acting since he was 3 years old, studying. It's all he ever wanted. He works at a movie theater, collecting the tickets. He's an usher, and he's going to these camps all the time. He coaches acting, teaches it, So he told Mike and Tyler, I want to be a movie star. And at this point, they're really good friends, and Mike and Tyler aren't going to lie to him. They love him to death, and they're going to be honest. And they said Hollywood's not really looking for something like that. They're not in the business of doing that traditionally. But you're very talented, and you should be. But I just don't know if it's going to happen. But you should go out, and maybe you'll get some bit parts, and who knows. And Zack said, well, you guys make me a movie then, and I'll be the star. And they're like, okay, well, that sounds a great idea. They went out and bought a bunch of books and screenwriting books and stuff like that, Save the Cat and all. And they learned how to write a screenplay, and then they just went for it. And that's how this movie came to be. It's because the three of them just said, let's do it, But one of my favorite stories, Tyler, I don't know where they were in the country, but they were out somewhere, and Tyler had lost Zack. Couldn't find him anywhere. He's like, this is not good, Then he finds him in some bar, restaurant somewhere, just sitting there eating ice cream with a bunch of people. And Tyler's like, Zack, where have you been? I've been worried about you. And Zack just matter-of-factly, he's like, I don't know if you know this about me, but I have Down syndrome, so I get along with everyone. And like, that's just pretty much sums it up, you know? And that's like all these kind of things fueled the script for them. Like they just tailored this story around who Zack is. And that's what you watch on the screen. But that just reminded me, like you had no idea your brother's out there creating relationships and touching lives, you know? It's like, I have Down syndrome. I get along with everyone.
I just think that's brilliant.
It's great, right?
And I think the fact that they were smart enough, and that, you know, this movie doesn't happen without a lot of people that have vision, a lot of people that have, obviously you talked about you didn't have to fund it, but someone did.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't an accident, but
right.
They set out to make a movie for him. It wasn't until Zack brought it up.
And it was the intention, though. There was this awareness of, well, if someone's going to create a movie with a Down syndrome actor as the lead, how does that look?
Right.
And they said, we're going to tailor a movie based around Zack's talent, skills, and his personality, and we're going to build the movie off of that. And that's just a brilliant. Instead of, I do a lot of work, and I'm jumping all over the place here, but I do, on top of being a cop and a speaker and all that, I own a company that works with people with neurological neuromuscular disease. And one of the things I always talk about is we spend more time in our lives treating symptoms than we ever do the root cause of the problem.
Yeah.
And
I've learned that over the past 2 years with the injury, is you have to participate in your own health or you're in trouble.
And you're Tyler, and then they looked at the root cause of the problem, which is, what is Hollywood going to think about a movie with a lead actor with Downs? And they said, we're going to go to the root problem, which is they probably think that we're going to make a movie and stick Zack in it.
Right.
Instead, they said, let's take Zack and build a movie around him, which is just so brilliant and so smart.
Why not? I mean, movies are just stories. We're telling stories. So tell Zack's story. It's a beautiful story. And that's what they did. And that's why it works. Because the other way you said wouldn't have worked. You know?
My brother he loved wrestling. And we used to, and I'm much older than him. I'm 48, and my brother would be 51. And we used to get up in the morning, and we had a black and white TV. And back then, I don't remember, 3, 6, 10. UHF was the
2957.
Yep. So
the dials, click.
That's it. Yeah. You had to change UHF and VHF, and so anyways, we would watch wrestling, and it would be on Sunday mornings, and we would get home from church, and wrestling would be on. My mom would be making lunch, and she'd say, "Do not watch wrestling." So the first thing we do is we go turn on wrestling. We'd be watching Bob Backlund and Andre the Giant and Cheap J Strongbow, and we'd have the volume down, and me and my brother would do suplexes and all kinds of stuff in the bedroom, and.
Did you get beat up because you were the younger one?
No, I was bigger than my brother.
Okay.
My brother could run like the wind, but he couldn't.
My poor brother, he was 5 years under me, and I made him put the football pads on, and poor guy.
The movie brought me back.
Yeah.
When he talked about, they showed the image of watching the wrestling on the TV, and it's just in my head. I'm going, man, that was my brother, and so
right?
Yeah, and I just felt that I felt my brother for whatever reason. Maybe that's why I cried the whole time. But for whatever reason, you connected a piece of my history into today, and that's really cool.
I mean, it's the best story that I can ask for. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing it. And I'm sure. I mean, I wish that Chris and Tim and Tyler and Mike and Dave and Ron and Albert and Lige, everybody was here to hear that, because that's why we do these things,
What is the let's talk more movies so people understand now because I don't know. I know that the friends of mine are in the movie business, and they've done the Sundance and the film festivals. How does an idea like this go from the independent movie house type thing, going through the Sundances and all that, to where it's going to be nationwide release? How does that process work?
Well, bullet points I'll give you is we did the South by Southwest Film Festival. That's where we showed this movie to the world. That was the premiere, and I think we get arbitrary numbers because I forget. I think we had like 4 or 5 screenings set for the festival. And then as the festival is structured, later on in the week, they have these, what they're called buzz screenings that are TBD. There's nothing in that slot yet. And that's set aside for any movies throughout the festival that get a lot of buzz and they want to add additional screenings. And I think we got like 3 buzz screenings. So we ended up adding a few, and we won the audience award, which is the big award at South by Southwest. So that was our catapult into the world with this movie. And South by is a great festival because it's a moviegoer festival, you know, so it's an audience festival. So to win that audience award was a really big deal for us, and a big deal. It was an eye opener. People are going to take a look at this thing, you know? So that was a good way to start. Then we started getting good reviews. And then we started shopping it around to see where we're going to go. And we really believed in this film. And, you know, even the financiers and Armory and everybody involved were like, let's double down on this. Let's roll the dice. We're not just going to take some little offer, throw it on, you know, a couple screens or whatever. Let's go for it. We risked up to this point. Let's take another risk. And we teamed up with Roadside Attractions. And it's kind of like a combination of the big distributor, but grassroots as well. So it's like this hybrid, and started this platform release where I think we started out August 1st was the premiere. August 8th or 9th was we started the platform release where we had 17 screens across the country, but you know, LA, New York, Austin. We did 17 screens and we won the weekend box office, which that was the per screen average. So because we had 17 screens, 12,000 a screen was, you know, we won the weekend. This weekend we added a few more cities, and then you know, it's performing well. So obviously winning that first weekend box office means, hey, the word's getting out and people are actually responding to it. So let's push more, even further. Let's get more, you know, awareness. And so on the 22nd now, it's going to go wide. So 23rd is a Friday, but there'll be some showtimes Thursday night. And that's the wide release nationwide. So anybody can see it. There's at least 10 theaters around the Philadelphia area that I know of. We should have more confirmed theaters on Monday. And as soon as I get that list, I'll try to post it, and, you know, we'll create awareness wherever we can. But you could always go to the peanutbutterfalconmovie.com, and they're always updating the site. And no matter where you're at in the country, when you pull up that site, it lists the closest movie theaters and the distance from you and stuff like that. So that's it, man. The platform release, 17 screens to I don't know what we're doing now, maybe 30 something, and then we're going big.
I love it. I love people that believe in what they do and believe in their passion and their purpose and just go for it. And you know, there's something to be said for taking risks, especially ones that you believe in with all your heart.
Yeah,
and,
more reward, right? We just never know what the reward's going to look like, but boy, is it much sweeter than what you thought it could be. Like, everybody thinks you roll the dice, take a big risk and gamble and make a ton of money. I mean, nothing compares to the way you feel when you touch a family that thought that were lost and thought that there was nobody out there that cared, or, you know, and when you start to see this hope in people's eyes and this snowball start to roll down the hill and gain traction, and people are coming out of the woodwork left and right with stories about how their child with Down syndrome is already starting to live a different life because of the idea of a movie coming out. Like, it's not, you know, they didn't even see it yet. And that's something really special. And that's something that I don't even know. Can money buy that? I don't think so. So as much as we try.
I just think the association of, I'm sure, your association with the movie and the production of the movie and getting it from its idea to being on nationwide release on the 22nd. I just think that I wrote the book, but if the book sold one copy or 10,000 copies, it didn't really matter, as long as every person that read it connected to some character of my life. And I think the fact that you rolled it out with the film festival and then the 17 screen and the winning it's just showing that the connectivity, because you didn't have, Paramount, blasting you out there's some really crappy movies that make a shit ton of money that have zero.
They work on comps, and it's a strategic thing. And I get it. It's a business model, and what are the comps? Oh, well, this, and this all made X amount. So this fits in that genre and everybody's going to love it. And we put enough billboards out and show enough commercials, we're going to make X back. Right. So it's a business formula. It makes sense. There's no comps for the Peanut Butter Falcon. It hasn't been done. So how do you take a business risk? It's not even a calculated risk at that point. Right. It's just blindly, and you really have to take the risk based on your heart. You have to watch this movie and go, well, I love it, and I think that every human being is going to love it. And if that's too scary, then you're not going to do it. So this is why I work with Armory, because somewhere else you might not have an opportunity to do a film like this, and they take those risks, and they have that open heart. They see that there's heart in a story, and they see that this can connect to an audience that's been neglected, because we're only being fed certain things. And we went for it. And it's pretty cool.
Well, dude, I am so stoked. What's the website for the movie? Where can people learn more about Armory and everything else that you're involved with?
The peanutbutterfalconmovie.com. Like I said, we'll have all the updates. Man, you could just Google the Peanut Butter Falcon now. It's really cool to say that, but like all these,
it's a hashtag.
All the latest articles are coming out, and each review just gets better than the last, which is incredible. If you dare, you can follow me on Instagram at Aaron Scotti. But I warn you, my feed right now is all Peanut Butter Falcon all the time. Maybe you'll see my dog here and there, or my wife, but it's this, man. And I don't care if I'm annoying everybody for this movie, because this one matters, and I truly believe that oh my God, Aaron with his Peanut Butter Falcon already. Fine, I'll take a look, and then be like, oh wow, okay. And I hope that they have that, and maybe I just have to knock on the door 17 times. But like I said, that's why you said I didn't even know you, and I just threw it out there. And we talked for 3 minutes, and now we're doing it. I don't care if you have one listener. I said to everybody here, I'm asking anybody who will listen to anything I have to say about this film to just create awareness. I went and did a podcast the other day in my buddy's kitchen that I went to high school with, and I don't know who's going to hear it. It doesn't matter. Just want to talk about it and put it out there, and hope that people connect with it half as much as I did.
Well, one person gave me a review on my podcast on iTunes, and he said he's no Joe Rogan, but give him time. That was the review.
Still compared to Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I'll take it. So, listen, man, I am so thankful that you came on the show. I'm so happy we figured out how to make this work today, so that you can spend time with your family tomorrow and get back to work crushing this movie all week. Where's the movie premiere? What's the Philly premiere? When's that?
So the 22nd, it's going to be the wide release.
And where's that at?
There's a bunch of theaters around Philly. The closest one to Conshohocken is going to be the Ritz 5 on Walnut Street. Mm-hmm. I'm doing there's a word of mouth Q&A on Tuesday, the 20th, but I believe the distributors set that all up. So I don't think there are tickets, but the 20, you can start buying tickets now, actually. So you could just look at that site, the peanutbutterfalconmovie.com, or you just Google the Peanut Butter Falcon tickets near me. And, because I know I spoke to my uncle, and he had to get his Thursday tickets so he could get down to the shore Friday. So they already have their tickets. They're ready to go to the first showing on Thursday night, I believe at the Ritz 5.
Perfect, brother. Well, listen, here's the deal. I'm gonna close out the show.
Okay.
When the show ends, you're gonna disappear, but I'm gonna call you on your cell.
Yeah, do it. Let me let me give a shout out. You reminded me that you're a police officer. My best friend is Mike Salvo. He's a police officer at the New Hanover district, and just wanted to give them a shout out, because you guys, thank you for what you guys do, man.
Well, his chief, Kevin McEwen, will love
to go do this, play around and do this stuff, because we're safe. So thank you.
Well, Kevin McEwen, well, thank you for the plug for New Hanover Township Police
From
Department.
what I hear, Kevin McEwen's a great guy. Mike has good things to say.
Fantastic guy. Former Norristown cop.
Oh, good.
For a long time. Retired from there. Now he's the chief up there. So hang tight. I'm going to close out the show, then I'll call you on your cell. All right, brother?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Everybody, thank you for watching this special pop-up episode of the Two Dates and a Dash podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cubbler. Thank you again to the amazing Aaron Scotti for sharing Zack and the Peanut Butter Falcon with us. I'm blessed just to have seen the trailer. I can't wait to see the movie on Thursday. I'm going to go. And I hope everybody goes out and buys a ticket and goes to see this movie. And just remember, there's just because you're different, you may have autism or Down syndrome or something else that makes you different, but it doesn't make you not able to do something. It doesn't say that you can't become the lead actor in a movie that's going to be a blockbuster hit all across the country. And it doesn't mean that you don't deserve to have love and be loved. So with that being said, thank you very much, guys. Have a great day and go out, be kind to one another.